Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Veronica Bruce. I am one of the presenters today. I'm the Assistant Director for the Kathryn M Center. I am also a former alumni of the Brown School. Back in 2016, I graduated with my MSW. I also was a Booter Scholar at the same time. My concentration was in American Indian, Alaskan Native. So I'll get a little bit more about me, but I'll go ahead and introduce two of our other panelists who are here to kind of help provide some information about our programs at the Brown School and also the Booter Center. Sarah, do you want to go next?
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Sarah Dexter. I use she, her pronouns. I am an associate director in the Office of Admissions and Recruitment at the Brown School. I've worked a bit throughout higher ed, also done research. So if you have any interest in some of those other things, happy to chat about that as well. So I'll pass it over to Kaylee.
Hi everyone, my name is Kaylee. I'm Caddo Kiowa Comanche from Oklahoma. I'm a current Booter Center student. I recently added on the dual degree, so right now I'm studying social work and public health, and I'm really excited to see where that takes me. And I am the powwow co-chair. So every year the Booter Center organizes a annual powwow, and so we're currently working on that, and we have a set date for April 16th. So we're really excited for that to be in person. But yeah, I'm also concentrating in American Indian Alaska Native Studies, and yeah, that's really all I can think about me. So I'll give it back to Veronica.
All right, thank you, Kaylee. And again, welcome everybody to our virtual information session. This is hosted by the Brown School Office of Admissions and Recruitment and the Kathryn M Center for American Indian Studies. Again, my name is Veronica Bruce. I'm the Assistant Director of the Booter Center and an alum of the Brown School. And I'm also a member of the Wichita and Affiliated Tribes of Oklahoma. So in the chat box, you can share a little bit more about you. That'd be great, and where you're from. You can also share any questions that you have in the Q&A box. So today we're going to go over some agenda items to get started. We'll overview the Brown School, talk about professional education, applying to graduate school, and the Booter Center. So to get us started, I will hand it over to Sarah, and she will share an overview of the Brown School.
Thanks, Veronica. So I'm sure y'all are somewhat familiar with the Brown School because you are here today. But this is just a really high level overview of kind of who we are. So the Brown School has 3 graduate programs. We have master's programs in social work, a master of public health, and a master of social policy. And within those programs, there's a lot of areas that you can concentrate or specialize to tailor your degree based on your area of interest. We're a fairly small school in a good way. So with that, I mean, we have a 9-to-1 student to faculty ratio. So that means your classroom sizes are going to be a bit smaller. They're going to be really collaborative and very discussion based. If you're interested in research or even just like being in that sort of like academic environment, there's a ton of opportunities with that. We have 21 plus faculty affiliated research centers and community-based research initiatives. So those are opportunities both within the Brown School and like the Washoe campus, and also opportunities within the actual St. Louis community. There's also a number of ways to get involved in student groups or leadership opportunities. That's ebbed and flowed a little bit over the past 1.5 years due to the pandemic. But we have a number of student groups that you can choose to engage in. And then if there's not a student group that already exists, but you want to be a part of, there's opportunity to develop those as well. And lastly, but maybe most importantly, there is certainly funding available for our students. So 100% of students who request merit-based scholarship do receive an award. We can talk more about that later, but if you have any questions, we're happy to answer those. So I will pass it back to Veronica.
All right. So what is a professional education? So I like to always take a step back when doing this presentation to briefly cover what is professional education. It is the education process or program that develops an individual to acquire special competencies for professional practice. There are many forms of professional practices, including law, policy, education, nursing, medicine, or engineering. The type of graduate program you attend will prepare you to respond to various situations that arise in the field of your choosing. This is also true for public health, social work, and social policy. So in Indian country, these professions and fields of study are common. So Native professionals holding these positions in these areas are decision makers at a national, urban, and tribal level. So a lot of our former alum, who do in social work, it's aimed to improving the overall well-being of a population, especially those who are historically underserved at a micro, meso, and macro level. Public health is the science of promoting and protecting the health of people in communities where they live, learn, and work and play. Social policy is a discipline that examines and promotes social and health equality for humans locally, nationally, or internationally. All right, Sarah, I will have you go over this slide.
Yeah, so when you're looking at applying to graduate school or considering graduate school, there's kind of three phases that you're going to go through, right? So the first one is earning your undergraduate degree. So in order to pursue a graduate degree or master's degree, you first have to complete a bachelor's. And that is our one main requirement for all of our programs. We'll get more into the requirements later on, but that's the big one. And that's the main thing that you need in order to pursue a graduate education. And so then from there, you'll want to look at what sort of options you have, what programs are you interested in, what do those programs offer? Do they have concentrations? Do they have faculty members? Do they have research that you're interested in and that are going to help you meet your goals? These are things you're going to want to ask yourself as you're just kind of preparing and considering what it is you want to pursue. The next piece is you'll want to look at the application requirements and see if those also align with your personal and professional goals. That's typically a little more clear cut because application requirements are pretty straightforward. For us, it's like a couple of essays, your transcript, recommendation letters, that sort of thing. But you'll want to make sure that you have all of your application requirements clearly lined out and know what it is that you need to prepare for. We can also get into tips on that too if you have any specific application questions. And then from there, you're going to pursue your graduate professional education. Once you apply and should you be admitted to your program of choice, you'll then get to just hit the ground running and start learning the things that you're excited about. We're going to primarily talk about the second piece today, but as you have questions or things that you would like to chat about, please feel free to use the Q&A function in the webinar. I'll pass it back over to you, Veronica.
All right, thank you. Yeah, so timing is important, especially for consideration when thinking about applying to graduate school. Typically, for a master's program, they last 2 to 3 years and consist of coursework, practicum, which is like an internship, exams, and sometimes, depending on the program and accreditation requirements, a thesis or a cumulative exam. So for like a PhD programs, they tend to be more research focused. They can last about 4 to 8 years, depending on the field of study. Coursework is part of the curriculum with an emphasis on research to prepare students for the dissertation portion of their program. There's a heavy emphasis on publishing journal and articles by working with faculty at the university. Sometimes there is an internship portion, but it varies by school. So like a doctorate of philosophy programs do allow for like bachelor level degree holders to apply with special consideration. So coming back to the Brown School offers 3 degree programs. The traditional MSW student can complete the program in 2 years. Students coming in the Brown School with a Bachelor of Social Work from an accredited institution will be on the MSW Advanced Standing track, which can be completed in 1 year or 1.5 years. Those in the Masters of Public Health program will complete their studies in 2 years. Students who are dual degrees, they usually have their coursework completed in 3 years. So the Brown School also works with other schools within Washington University to offer joint degree programs such as MSW, JD, MSW, MBA. So students considering a joint degree at WashU will need to apply to both schools to get admitted into the programs and work with their assigned advisors to discuss timelines. So this is an interesting point. And some graduate programs do require to have the work experience as well. So it varies, and those things are in consideration, especially when you're applying. So we do have someone who's on our panel that can talk a little bit about her experience being a dual degree. So Kaylee, I'll just have you talk a little bit about that process, what you're going through now, and also being a Booter Scholar as well.
Yeah, so I think that my case is maybe a little bit different from some other people's. So I actually came in just thinking that I was going to complete the MSW degree in 2 years. And then through the practicum experience, the Brown School does emphasize, getting a practicum and gaining experience in different levels of like social work. And so because of that, I was able to work with the National Council for Urban Indian Health. And that really opened up my eyes to how connected public health and social work are. And so I ended up applying for the public health dual degree this past summer. And so whenever you're on the dual degree track, whether it's for, I'm pretty sure it's the same for like all of the different dual degrees. 1 year you do MSW, like your first year. The second year, I'm on my MPH track. And then my third year, it will be split between MPH and MSW. And my final practicum will actually be in both social work and public health. So I'm pretty excited to see like what the different opportunities are for that. But yeah, so far, I've really enjoyed being able to take both I guess, different types of courseworks, because it really just has expanded the type of advocacy that I'll be able to do whenever I'm working with, whether it's like my tribal nation or different maybe urban Indian organizations in the future. But yeah, as a Booter Center scholar, I think that they definitely, the Booter Center, I think we have about maybe 12 people in the program right now. Some people are online, but some of us are in person, and it really just is a great place for us to support each other, because all of our courseworks are pretty heavy and loaded. So there's I think 2 of us that are in the dual degree for social work and public health, and so it's actually interesting. Like next semester, I'm excited to take applied linear modeling with another student that's in the Booter Center. So it just really is a good place to get that type of support for, earning the degree. So.
Great. Thank you, Kaylee. And she'll be on the line if anybody has any questions from her experience. And also too, if you want to ask her, the process she went through being a Booter Scholar and everything. Great. So what you should know before you start. So there are 2 things I encourage you to think about when beginning the process: your responsibilities as an applicant and each program's attribute. We'll go into what that means. So as an applicant, your responsibility is to find the program that best suits you. You will be spending the next 2 to 3 years dedicated to this coursework that will add skill sets and in-depth practices that will help you in your position for your career advancement and making a meaningful contribution to the field and community. Next, applicants will need to align their interests with faculty research and coursework that's offered at the school. For those who are very passionate about a particular population or topic, you'll want to ensure it is covered in the course curriculum offered. So research or teaching assistantships are not only a great way for you to make extra income during your graduate school experience, but also one of the best ways to build your resume, gain skills, receive mentorship from a faculty or staff member in that specialized area. And last, when going through the application process, it's important to provide accurate and valuable information. So in order to maximize your time and effort applying to graduate school, it's important to be organized. Each graduate program is unique in their offerings and approach to the field work you're considering. So make a list of what's important to you in a graduate program. So focus on program, financial assistance, faculty to student ratio, research facilities, recreation opportunities, and system supports, and et cetera. So search your interests in database and other resources for programs that match your interests. Some of those interests that I can go over would be criteria for acceptance. So that would be JD MSW or JD MPH, coursework content, faculty research, expertise, reputation, program reputation, and financial resources. As an important applicant, or as an applicant, you might want to consider and weigh on a category more than others. So in many instances, financial resources is a large factor when considering graduate school. I know that was for me as well. Another question to ask is, what are the program's alumni doing? What types of careers do they have? And what type of positions do they hold? After you've created a list of schools you're interested in them, you can also categorize them. So for instance, let's say on this chart, my mountaintop school would be one that requires great testing scores and a 3.8 GPA. It has, great program attributes, but I'm not certain I get in because I'm sitting below those requirements and averages. However, I still want to apply, so I'm going to, but a 50-50 program would probably be the one that meets all my interests, but also too, I feel that the 50-50 chance of getting in or admitting is still kind of there. So you kind of want to be able to look at these and figure out, all right, where am I at and where can I probably improve on maybe writing essays and also meeting some of those markers. There are some schools that might be a done deal for you, and you might meet all the minimum requirements. So current students who attend the schools have attended institutions like undergrad. So perhaps you've attended several events hosted by the program and there's a clear match. I always encourage students to aim high and always have a backup plan, especially if you want to attend the graduate school of your choice and have a strict personal timeline too as well. All right, so Sarah, I will have you go over this slide.
First, thanks, Veronica. So a lot of graduate programs have fairly similar requirements, but you'll want, as Veronica said, you want to pay close attention to what those specific requirements are. So first, you want to look at timeline. For us at the Brown School, we are nearing our first priority consideration deadline of December 15th. And then we also have a regular decision deadline of March 1. So we encourage people to apply by that December 15th deadline if they're able to. But we recognize if maybe this is your first time, learning about our program, you're not going to be able to complete an application in like 8 days. That's not reasonable. So you still have plenty of time to apply from now through March 1st. And for any of our current students who are looking to maybe add a dual degree, we still recommend those like March 1 deadlines, but then we're a bit more flexible for current students if they're deciding to add on a dual degree as well. So not that you need that right now, but no, that's kind of in your back pocket later on if you're interested. You'll also need to have your transcripts from your undergraduate degree. So whether you've attended one college or university or multiple ones, you'll want to make sure you have those available to submit with your application. You will also have a statement of purpose. We call it a personal statement. Some programs might call it slightly different, but that's pretty common across most programs. And then you'll have recommendation letters that are required. That number can depend on the program. For the Brown School, we require 3 for our MSW, our MPH, and then only 1 for our Masters of Social Policy. Some programs will also require test scores like the GRE, the MCAT, GMAT, all those things. That's not something we require, so you don't have to worry about that at all. In fact, we don't even consider those scores when reviewing applications because we know that for our students, a test score doesn't measure their full capacity and their full potential to do well in our program. So one tip that's highlighted here is apply early if you can, because it will typically give you a greater advantage for some of those competitive scholarships. So for us, all of our funding is available at this time. And so we encourage folks to apply early to be considered for that full level of funding.
Great. And I also applied early for early decision. And I would say that was very helpful, especially for planning for myself. So if you can, try to do it. So kind of like what Sarah went over, there's application requirements. And as you can see here, we have the MSW application, MPH application. So transcript, personal statement, analytical essay, resume, and CV, a $50 non-refundable application fee, which we will get back to a question that came up regarding this application fee a little bit later on. So early decision deadline, December 15th, and the regular decision deadline is March 1st. Pretty much everything is almost still the same with the MPH application, just a little bit more different. So of course you got your transcripts, personal statements, CV or resume, letters of recommendation. GRE is not required for the application. Again, this is a different process for the application fee. So you have to go through a different website to be able to do that, so SOFAs. And then the prerequisite would be human biology too as well. So just to be mindful whenever you're applying and looking to do possibly the MPH as well. So we're going to shift gears and we're going to talk about the Booter Center at the Brown School and what we do and what is our mission and how do we support students and help students in this process. So I will go over some information about the Booter Center. This year, the Booter Center is celebrating its 31st anniversary by honoring Kathryn M. Booter, the visionary and the founder of the center. So the center's vision is prepare American Indian Alaskan Natives to become leaders in their communities in making significant contributions to health, wellness, and sustain the future of Indian country. So we strive to be a premier graduate degree program in social work committed to the education of American Indian Alaskan Native MSW students. We support American Indian Alaskan Native leaders who make significant contributions to the health and wellness and sustain the future of Indian country. That is on the national level, tribal and urban settings. The Booter Center recruits American Indian Alaskan Native scholars to provide student support in the demanding course of study, develops curriculum, conducts research and engages in policy development that directly impacts Indian country. So to date, there are 221 Booter Scholar graduates, and currently we have 24 Booter Scholars. That's including 3 of those to be PhD students as well. At the Booter Center, we really focus on student development, collaboration, research, and evaluation in order to provide a space that is enriching to Native students to learn and to grow. To support students in searching for a practicum in Indian country, we have social workers advancing through grounded education program, which we call SAGE for short. And so this program recruits and trains and financially supports Brown School students as they complete 360 hours of their practica in Indian country. Students from MSW, MPH, or dual degree programs are welcome to participate in SAGE if they wish to complete practicum hours at a Native serving organization or tribe. So to date, we have more than 40 affiliated sites with the Brown School, and there are more than 60 organizations that have expressed interest in hosting a student from the Brown School. We also have Indigenous research initiatives that support and engage communities. That is one of our other programs, and we call it iRise. So the program is an opportunity for students to engage in research fellowship that is on a project of a student's choosing, or on a joint effort with collaborating with organizations. Students receive mentorship, guidance on the project and research development from the Brown or Buder Center research manager and director. So you work closely with us so we can help you achieve some of those research goals that you have. Other areas other than our center that we have that are student-led groups would be the American Indian Student Association, which we call ASA for short, and also the WashU Powwow Committee. So ASA hosts events for the Brown School community, and the WashU Powwow Committee hosts our annual powwow that attracts people from across the country. So like Kaylee said, we'll be hosting our annual powwow this year, well, the school year, I should say, for April 16th, 2022, which we had just got done selecting and putting together our head staff. So look at our social media sites to be able to get updated information along with information about our powwow as well. The Buder Center and the SAGE research assistants offer guidance to students. So whenever students have questions about SAGE or about the program or the center, they can come to us. One of the ways that we do that in providing guidance to students is student development. So to develop students as leaders in Indian country, the Buder Center will create and enhance student development opportunities and programs using an Indigenous framework. Collaboration is another one. The Buder Center will promote and collaborate and do relationship building with stakeholders. Lastly, research and evaluation. The Buder Center will develop a research and evaluation agenda to further internal and external impacts for opportunities. So you're probably wondering, with the Buder Center and the concentration, how do we impact those? So we have the American Indian Alaska Native concentration. So you've heard me and Kaylee talk about how we graduated from the program underneath this concentration. So I'll go over that here in this slide. So the American Indian Alaska Native concentration is one of the 10 concentrations offered in the MSW program. To best serve American Indian and Alaska Native communities, it's crucial that social workers understand the culture, the politics, and the practices those being served. The American Indian Alaska Native concentration offers students the ability to understand historical and contemporary issues facing American Indian Alaska Native people, and also preparing students to effectively serve American Indian Alaska Native populations in various settings. So the courses included in the concentration are as listed. So Indigenous knowledge and values and cultures is one course that usually you'll take, and that's offered in the springtime. So is the American Indian Alaska Native social welfare policies and administrative practices that will also be in the springtime. For the fall, we have Indigenous mental health practice and community development with American Indian and Alaska Native and other Indigenous communities. Those are kind of the concentration core that are offered with this particular one. But you can also add into the concentration because we have 3 tracks that go along with it. So direct practice and trauma informed for students who plan to work with American Indian and Alaska Native communities. Coping with trauma through direct practice lens is one of those tracks. Another one is the behavioral health for students who plan to work with American Indian and Alaska Native communities, experiencing mental health and substance abuse conditions through a direct practice lens. The other one is the community track for students who plan to work in community building, capacity development, leadership, and asset building in American Indian and Alaskan tribes and communities. Some of that I see with the community track is a lot of consulting work that I've worked with other Buder scholars who do a lot of that work, working with tribes and communities. So these courses are taught by experts in the field, including Buder alumni who return to share their knowledge with current students. So scholarships that we offer at the Kathryn M. Buder Center that we work alongside with a charitable foundation. So there are different scholarships that we offer. So for example, the J.R. Jr. and the Kathryn M. Charitable Foundation offers full scholarships to American Indian Alaskan Native students who intend to practice social work in Indian country and Native communities. The Booter Foundation Scholarship provides full tuition support, monthly stipend, professional development opportunities, and books for 2 years of the full-time study in the Masters of Social Work program at the Brown School. So students can indicate their interest to apply to the Booter Foundation Scholarship in the application for admission to the Brown School, so MSW program. So upon admission to the MSW program, the applicant must submit their information to the Booter Charitable Foundation, which usually at that point, when we've kind of noted you as someone who's interested in, the concentration of American and Alaskan Native, and you identify as being Native, we'll work with you to make sure that you know what you need to get to the Booter Charitable Foundation, and we provide the address of how to do that. Usually it's an essay that you will write in terms of why you want to be a Booter scholar and how would this financial support help you in achieving that goal, and also to most time we ask for proof of CDIB, Certificate of Indian Blood, or enrollment. I'm always happy to review scholarship essays, also provide more details and individual meetings with applicants who are interested in learning more. So I'll provide you with my contact information at the end. So going along with that, we're meeting the needs of Indian country, and how we do that is we really host and provide change agents to be the catalyst for change and to do the hard and much needed work to change what's happening in their communities, especially in Indian country. We need more change agents to meet the needs of not only Indian country, but these communities. So change agents are nation builders, capacity builders. They think holistically about systems and provide positive and community leadership. We also need change agents to create, adjust, or continue programs that support Native children, families, and communities. So there are many roles that our graduates enter, including tribal governments in various sectors, Indian health services, community-based organizations, urban and rural health clinics, and tribal schools and colleges. So our alumni are in different capacities and they provide a lot of that. And usually whenever a student needs to talk to, maybe get an understanding from our alumni, we're always happy to connect those students with our alumni. And also too, we bring our alumni back and we do a panel. So that way students that are currently in the program, whether you're first or second year or third year, you're getting that perspective of what are these individuals doing with either their dual degree, MSW, and what does that look like for them? So success of an application process looks different for everyone, but there are some items that we know that indicate success. So the first is finding the graduate program that's right for you. These are considerations that we'll take, when selecting a program to apply to, getting admitted to a school, and if you're eligible for receiving scholarships offered from that particular graduate program or programs, and finally accepting the offer that best suits you and your needs and career goals. To get this final step, it's important to plan ahead, seek support from mentors, continuously follow up with recommenders, and also someone who can review your essays as well. Apply for scholarships or other funding resources and receive feedback and make adjustments as you're going through this process. So on here, I have my contact information. The best way to reach me is via email. So my last name is Bruce, and you can reach me there. We also have our QR codes on the screen. One is for the Booter Center, and the other one is the Brown School Graduate Program requirements. So these are just a little bit of ways of how you can get in contact with me. I'm also, available to schedule time to speak. If you want to talk to me one-on-one, that can be done via Zoom or by phone. You can also too, if you want to meet with somebody from the Brown School Admissions, you can also reach out to them with any specific questions you might have regarding the program or online application. And we will see if there's any questions.
Yeah, so there was a couple questions that came through. So if you don't mind, I can answer the first one. So what is the average length of an advanced standing dual degree? So that can depend a little bit on which, if you're an MSW advanced standing student or an MPH advanced standing student. But I would say on average, that would be about 2.5 years. It can depend based on what credits are accepted and what program track you're selecting, especially if you're an MSW advanced standing student. But my biggest advice there is to talk to your academic advisor fairly early on to make sure that you're on track with all of your program requirements in order for you to expedite that dual degree process. Without advanced standing, that is 3 years. So with advanced standing, 2.5 is pretty typical, but there might be some ways to expedite that even more. It just depends on your specific situation. Kaylee, there's a question for you that asks about the public health coursework. Would you like to speak to that?
Yes, and actually before I answer that question, I just kind of wanted to also put a plug in for what Veronica was talking about. Whenever I was going through the application process at the Brown School, I had been lucky enough to have the opportunity to attend Graduate Horizons. And so that program really helped prepare me for, the admissions process. And I actually got to meet Kelly Thompson, who's the director of the Booter Center. And I just want to say that the Booter Center is a very supportive environment, and they want all of the Native students that they can get. She went over my resume. She went over all of my, personal essays. So I just want to say that, like, when Veronica is providing her contact information to go over these things, like, she really means it. And the Booter Center wants just as many people as they can get, because we are going to be the change makers in Indian country. But as far as the question, so far public health has been kind of difficult. If I'm just going to be a little bit honest, last year I took all social work classes. And so there was a lot of essay writing, a lot of group work. And this semester, especially, so I'm taking epidemiology, biostatistics, and then every public health student also has to take a seminar class and then a cross-cutting themes to just go over kind of general information about public health, which those are very informative. But I know that, like, for epidemiology and biostatistics, there's a lot of math. And I've had great professors. And luckily, there are great study tools. Like, there is a stats lab, there are different people like tutoring help that are there, to provide extra support. But it's that I'm in finals right now, so I feel like I'm kind of feeling the heat of public health, but I don't want to, like, discourage anybody. It's been like, I've learned so much information, but it definitely is kind of a learning curve. But there are definitely tools at the Brown School to help, like, get you through it. So I hope that answers the question and was a little bit helpful.
Great, thanks, Kaylee. And the other question we have here is regarding when applying for the Booter Center and Charitable Foundation. So typically, whenever you were applying to the Brown School and the MSW program, once you've submitted your application and we see that, typically after we've been notified that you've met those requirements for the MSW program, usually we get notified, and after that point, we help you through that process after you've been, let's say, accepted, to get the information, everything that you need together to apply to the Booter Charitable Foundation Scholarship. So after you've been accepted after your application, then we kind of move you through that process through applying through that. So just so you're aware of that, so everyone understands. And I know that another question that we had that was submitted was information about financial aid, financial resources. So there is another, I guess you can say, Sarah, another seminar that's going to be happening on this Thursday that's going to discuss one, the program at the Brown School, and also go over financial aid and assistance and scholarships. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I can add just a little bit there. There's definitely a couple different forms of funding in addition to the Charitable Foundation Award. And so the Brown School also offers awards to all of our admitted students. So once you're admitted, you will still receive an award from the Brown School, but then you'll be able to go through that process, to apply to that external award. But on Thursday, we are having another info session at noon, and we'll be reviewing application requirements. If you have any questions about your application, looking for some hot tips, we'll go through all of that. We'll also have our Assistant Director of Financial Services on that call. And so she'll go over some financial aid information, FAFSA deadlines, if you are looking to apply for any sort of student loans. And then we'll go through a little bit more of our scholarship requirements in that process if you have any questions. If you're not able to attend that session, that will also be recorded. And then of course, our office is always open to answer any individual questions as they come up. Another plug for our financial service office, once you're admitted, Dominique is more than happy to meet with folks individually to talk about your specific situation, what your scholarship looks like, and if you have FAFSA, all those like nitty-gritty details. Once you're admitted, she can definitely meet with folks and answer those sort of questions. Kaylee, I see you nodding your head, so I hope that's, I know a lot of students I've worked with have connected with her, and she's a fantastic resource.
Yeah, and I know there was another question that was submitted in advance, and it had to do with dual degree, MSW, Masters in Social Policy. So in regards to that, how we support students, definitely the Booter Charitable Foundation Scholarship, if you're awarded that, you will get that award for your MSW degree. And usually when that happens, our admissions office knows, our financial aid office knows. So we're always working alongside with them to see, maybe funding you through, maybe if you do an MPH or JD or something else, that there is funding, and we work alongside each other to make sure that you continuously get funding. I don't know if you want to give your example, Kaylee, about, you're doing a dual degree and how you've gotten help or gotten some contributions working alongside the Booter Center and financial aid for your dual degree.
Yeah, of course. So actually applying for the dual degree, coming into the Brown School, I'm actually a Gates Millennium Scholar. And so my undergraduate was paid for. And so I was very interested in, applying for like the social work degree, but I was a little worried about funding. And so luckily the Booter Center did provide me with a scholarship. So that's all covered. But for Gates, they do cover public health, but if you do a dual degree with a program that's not covered, then they won't cover any part of the program. So I had applied to the dual degree public health to add on, not knowing that my scholarship wouldn't be covered. And so luckily, like I was communicating with Kelly Thompson a lot, and she definitely I guess helped communicate my needs to some of like the other people in like financial aid. And so I am able to be fully funded for my public health degree also. So the center, like they want us to succeed. And so they definitely are going to be like our biggest advocate in trying to, problem solve, think of like different, even if it comes to loans, but luckily I did get a scholarship that.
All right. Hopefully that answered the question too, to get some perspective of what it's like for a dual degree as well. Working alongside with the Brown School and us, figuring out resources as well. And do we have any other questions? If not, definitely reach out to me, reach out to admissions. We're happy to provide any information that you guys need from us.
There's just like, I think we touched on these, Veronica, but just to be sure, someone asked if there's a limited number of applicants that are offered the Booter, I'm assuming the Charitable Foundation Scholarship. That is correct. And that is something that is outside of the Brown School. And so they'll certainly, I mean, we're in communication with them, and the Booter Center is very much in communication with them as well. But once those decisions are made, then they'll let applicants know as soon as they can. And so then going along with that, you'll want to send your essay after you are accepted into the Brown School. That's when that whole process will start for the Charitable Foundation Award. And then the last question, asking if we have an FE-MCH joint degree. I'm not familiar with MCH is, so I can fairly confidently say no, that we don't have that joint degree, but we do have a number of other joint options. And if there is a content area that you're wanting to explore that that we don't have a joint degree with, there is the option to have a general track within our public health program. And then you can take electives outside of the Brown School. I mean, any person in our programs at the Brown School can take their electives at other schools around WashU, and then even with some of our other local schools like St. Louis University, so if we don't have the exact joint degree that you're looking for, the exact program of study, there are some ways to kind of tailor your degree and your experience by using your electives in other areas. So for example, I know we've had students who've taken elective courses at the law school or on our medical campus. You'll just want to work really closely with your advisor to make sure that you're able to get into those courses and that they still align with your course sequencing. But I think that was all the questions. So thank you for letting me just pop in there, Veronica.
Yeah, no worries. And like we said, we'll work with you too once you've submitted all your application information, and we'll work alongside you in terms of scholarships through the Booter Center and the Booter Charitable Foundation. Well, we really appreciate everyone's time. And if you got any further questions, please feel free to reach out to me via email, call me, any of those things, and I will do my best to get back to you as soon as I can with any questions you might have. So we really appreciate your time today, and thank you again for joining us. Hopefully this was helpful for you, and we've pre-recorded this, so if you need to look back, we'll be happy to share this recording as well. Thank you for your time. Have a wonderful day and stay warm.